All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Me here talking about real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. The truth about Fleetwood Mac. How were they so creative? For those of you who know Fleetwood Mac because of a TikTok video you've seen recently, which had like a billion views, probably has like 10 billion views now. In case you haven't seen the video, it's some dude who's skateboarding and drinking cranberry juice. I was going to say sauce, but I don't know if you can drink cranberry sauce. But anyway, skating on a skateboard, and then Dreams is playing. Dreams, the song by Fleetwood Mac. And that became a huge sensation. Dreams, the only number one track for Fleetwood Mac. And for those of you who maybe aren't too sure about Fleetwood Mac, the truth, and it's kind of hard to really fathom the truth about this band. A lot of bands that came out of this era were busy. They were busy using certain things. Marching powder is a term that drummer Mick Fleetwood has used. He said it was kind of like a well-worn fairy tale, gets to be more like a war story, and it gets more and more exaggerated. He says, I'm not minimalizing what we were partaking in that lifestyle. So it was a lifestyle. It was a lifestyle choice. They weren't crawling on the floor. They were functional. This is the thing about a lot of these bands. You hear about a functional substance abuser. Either they hide it really well, or they just will the fact that they can do two things at the same time. They can tell themselves, I can do this. I can continue to use these substances and still create great things. Mick Fleetwood said it really got out of hand during the making of Rumors. So think about this. This is a truth about Fleetwood Mac. Their most creative moment as a band was when they were partaking heavily in these so-called marching powders. Stevie Nicks talked about this for many years. 2 weeks worth of this substance, she claims, could pay about 6 months worth of her rent. So in those days, it wasn't inexpensive. It was still a commodity that cost a lot of money. And these people thought that they had to have it in order to be creative. As far as Christine McVie and John McVie, not sure how involved they were compared to the other band members. I'm thinking they were all the musketeers at that point. We know that Lindsey Buckingham obviously partook as well. Very creative guy without any of this stuff. In fact, if you're a Fleetwood Mac fan, you should really probably like the self-titled Fleetwood Mac album, the White Album, the first one with Buckingham and Nicks. I think you should like that album as much as Rumors. For me, I actually like it better than Rumors. Part of it is Rumors has been beaten to a pulp, and there are a couple of sort of ho-hum tracks on Rumors. I can listen to that White Fleetwood Mac album from start to finish, and the cuts that weren't radio friendly, to me, those songs get better and better every time I listen to them. Songs like Warm Ways, go listen to Warm Ways. I mean, just a fantastic track. But I digress. Let's get back to Fleetwood Mac. For years, they battled these substances, and it got worse when they became famous because then they had more money. So rather than creating an amazing follow-up to Rumors, they recorded Tusk. Now, I've argued for Tusk. I've said, hey, it's not as bad as many of these Lindsey Buckingham haters have said, even if you could say trim the album down and just pull out the best tracks. I think you get an album fairly close to Rumors as far as quality. I mean, there's some stuff that, you might want to leave on the cutting room floor. Like you could do an abbreviated Tusk. The song Tusk is fantastic, very creative. And then there's songs like Think About Me, and obviously Sarah, which was a pretty big song. So there's three right there that a lot of people know. Some people might not know Think About Me because it's not on the radio anymore. It's just dumb what they do. But there are other deeper album tracks. Stevie Nicks, I think, wrote some interesting material for Tusk, but they were still partaking. And I think the battle within the band could have been something like this: hey, we should stick with what works and do this again. And Lindsay's like, no, I'm the most coherent one here, so I say, let's do this. And I think everybody was so kind of, shall we say, disengaged because of the substances that they probably said, okay. And I think that was the hierarchy of that band moving forward. I think Lindsey Buckingham was the general and everybody else were like privates. They were like, okay, yes, sir, I'll do what you want. And, you know, we'll bring our stuff to the table and then you put it together and make it into a nice tapestry, you know. And that's what Buckingham did, I think, on every Fleetwood Mac album he was a part of. But there's no question the band achieved their pinnacle of success with Rumors, and that was fueled by the marching powder. And that's the truth about this band. People could make the same claim about the Eagles, Hotel California, partaking. You know, if you watch the Eagles documentary or read a book or two, I read Don Felder's book, and one of the regrets he always has in the book is, man, I'd like to get this under control, but I couldn't for many years. And they were creative, but imagine after creating Hotel California, if they were more sober and more vigilant and more interested in like recording a follow-up, you know, in a more timely manner. The record label was like, hey, you got to strike while the iron's hot, and they didn't, and they lost momentum, and the long run comes out and it's a disappointment compared to Hotel California. But at that stage, everybody was tired. They were burnt out in more ways than one, and never achieved that level of success again. Seriously. So with Fleetwood Mac and the Eagles, that's the truth. With Fleetwood Mac, it's, I think, even more blatant because the Eagles had a history of albums prior that, when put together into a greatest hits album, turns out to be the greatest selling album of all time. And then Hotel comes on after that, and that is an amazing bookend to that era. And it's essentially on its own almost as big as all of the music they did before it. Whereas Fleetwood Mac was just taking off, their first album with Lindsay and Stevie, and then their second. And then that was it. That was it. I mean, you can look at Tango in the Night. That was a great album. Mirage is a decent album. Tusk is a decent album. But the pinnacle will always be Rumors commercially. And that was because of some of the things that they were doing, both within those relationships and with certain illicit substances, which were fairly normal and used in those days to be creative and just assist in keeping that creative process going. Longevity, in other words, if you're getting tired, I think the word is you had to take a bump. That was what I read, I think, in Ted Templeman's book. That's the terminology. Just get a bump and that'll kick things into high gear. That was really the norm in those days. And those people who only know this band from the skateboard video, there's a lot more to it than that. The romantic stuff and the substance abuse, it's quite a tale. And maybe somebody should write a book about it, because I think it would be, if it were honest, it would be a best-selling book.